Hello and welcome to the third section of this course, Ansible Architecture and Design. In this section, we're going to be looking at the Ansible Configuration, Ansible inventories, how we can apply host and group variables, how we can simplify groups with ranges, how we can configure the inventory to allow root connectivity, and how Ansible can be used with different target configurations. And in Ansible modules, we're going to look at some of the common modules available and learn how to interact and use them with the Ansible command line tool. Join me in this video, Ansible Configuration. Ansible can make use of an associated configuration file where it will make reference to this configuration file with regards to how Ansible should operate and the resources that it uses. We're going to start this off on our Ansible control host, Ubuntu-C. And quite simply, we're going to run the command ansible --version. Okay, so we can see a lot of good information there. We can see what appears to be the version of Ansible as 2.10.3, but with the recent changes to Ansible, this is actually the version of what is known as Ansible-base. Periodically, I will be updating the lab images, so when you actually run this, you may actually see a newer version of Ansible, or as I just referenced, Ansible-base. Don't worry about this if you do. The course has actually been designed so that any updates to the Ansible version will work with all of the content on the course. Of particular interest here is the entry which actually says config file. And in our case at the moment, it says none. We don't actually have any configuration files that Ansible is making reference to. So a good place to start is the possible Ansible configuration file locations and environment variables that can be used to influence the config file location. The lowest of the priority is the etc ansible ansible.cfg configuration file, and this location is typically used when Ansible is installed via a system installation. So for example, on Ubuntu, if you used an apt install Ansible, or if you were using a RHEL, CentOS or AWS Linux system by doing a yum or a DNF install Ansible. I've seen this cause confusion in the past, as sometimes users are not aware of this and wonder why Ansible isn't working as they would expect. And the reason being, it's actually referencing this configuration file. What we're going to do here is demonstrate this location on Ubuntu-C. So if you go back to your terminal, and what we're going to do is we're going to run a su-, so that's switch user. We're switching the user to the root account, and we just enter the password of password. Let's make a directory called /etc/Ansible. Let's use the touch command to make a zero-length file. For those not familiar with touch, it serves two main purposes. One, creating zero-length files like we're going to do here, or updating the timestamp of a file to the current time value on the system. Okay, so let's exit now. And again, if we actually try our Ansible -- version, you can see now that it's actually making reference to that configuration file. The next highest priority is a hidden file called .ansible.cfg in the user's home directory. Back in the terminal, and what we're going to do here is a cd tilde, which in this case doesn't actually do anything, but for reference, tilde in Unix represents the home directory. And you can see on our prompt there, it has the tilde indicating we're already there. If we do a pwd, we can confirm that we're actually in our home directory. When you use a dot as the leading part of a name in Unix, it's a hidden file. So like we saw earlier with the hidden .ssh directory, we're going to use the touch command to make a hidden file called .ansible.cfg. Okay, and again, if we run our Ansible -- version, we're now seeing the reference to this file because this file has a higher priority than the one that we actually saw previously. As long as we're logged in as this user, this will be the configuration file Ansible will use from wherever it's used. So, for example, if we go to another directory, i.e. /temp, and we run our Ansible -- version, as this user, it's still making reference to that file. Okay, and let's just do cd on its own to take us back to our home directory. Next up is my personal favorite, /ansible.cfg. This is an Ansible file which is in the current directory. I really like this one as it enables you to have your related Ansible configuration alongside your Ansible execution and all encompassed as one entity. We make use of this throughout the entire course, and the Ansible repository is built on this logic, where we have individual directories for examples, and each of them have their own Ansible.cfg file. So what we can do, for example, here, let's make a directory called test.dir, and let's change to that directory. And at this point, if we run Ansible -- version, it's still going to show the previous configuration file. But now if we touch a file called ansible.config, and then we run our Ansible -- version again, you can see now that this is actually showing the file in this current directory as, again, it has a higher precedence than the previous examples. For now, we'll just clean this one up. Lastly, the winner, the number one precedence, the Ansible_config variable. Let's see this in use. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a example Ansible configuration file, and with this approach, it could actually be called anything. So we will call this is my example ansible.config. And then if we set our environment variable, and now if we run our Ansible -- version, you can see there it's referencing this is my example ansible.config. Let's clean up before we move on. And we just enter the password of password. And the last thing we need to do is remove the hidden file. Okay, perfect. That's it for this video. Throughout the course, we're going to be making use of Ansible configs, and we'll see the type of information that we can use within them. Please join me in the next video, Ansible Inventories.